learned from Paul. The Philippines have learned from Paul's teachings and his behavior. The second word we have here after learned is received. Paul's saying that the Philippians who have received his teachings to learn from. And then we have the third, or heard from me. Paul has been teaching them. They've heard it. And the last word, received, heard from me, and seen in me. They have seen his actions. They have seen what Paul has done. For us who no longer have Paul, who no longer have the apostles, we are required as Christians to submit to the apostolic word. Paul is telling us in verse 9 to act on these things. These are the preconditions for enjoying the promises of God. If we are, as a church, to stand fast in the face of this fallen world, then we must first attend to our personal sanctification by surrounding our circumstances by prayer, drill our minds in godly thinking, and third, subject our life to the Word of God. Do this, and God of peace will be with you. If we ignore these things, then be prepared to forego God's blessings. There is an element of error, you might say, an element of danger, you might say, in misunderstanding Paul's point here. The message is not about an absent God. The Lord is with you. The Lord has not forgotten you. But sometimes we lack a vivid presence of God in our life. Sometimes we fall into sin and become slackers. Sometimes we lose our sharp conscience of the Lord being alongside of us. Sometimes we forget that Jesus Christ died on the cross. Sometimes we forget that Jesus Christ rose again on the third day. Sometimes we forget that he ascended into heaven and sits at the right hand of God the Father Almighty. Sometimes we